Welcome to the student debate. And let me begin by acknowledging the presence of Mrs. Jeanette Pearson, representing Vike Energy, which has given the cash prize for the winners of the debate. So thank you very much indeed, and welcome. We have a debate on the topic. This House believes that autonomously driven cars are a good thing for society. The two sides are, from one side, Team B is from Peter Pasmani Catholic University, Team A from the IBS, which is the
International Business School in Budapest.
Thank you very much. Now, let me go first, therefore, to Team A, and that and ask the proposer, Mr. Mark, Ambrose Mark, to talk. Oh, I'm so sorry. Perhaps I could ask you to make a brief presentation before we start.
Thank you. So before the debate, I will give you some kind of introduction to the topic, and I'm sure that we will go deep into the rabbit hole after that. So just first, let me speak in a few slides about this autonomous driven cars and its impact on society and economics. Just a few words about my background. I work for an internet research company. We do market research in topics like these, trends and so on. And the other one is Corvinus University of Budapest, where I work and teach business informatics students about information society related topics and market research methodologies. So let me ask a short question that, do you like driving? If you like driving, please raise your hand. So if you like driving, that's great. Please just, okay, raise your hand if you don't like driving. So if you dislike. Okay, so I have a good news and a bad news as well. A good news is that driving will be illegal. I mean, human driving will be illegal in the future. In the next 10 to 20 years, there is a trend like that. That's the bad news if you like driving. If you like driving, that's good news for you. But at the same time, most probably fatal accidents will be fewer in the future. So this is a good impact of this trend. So human driving will be illegal in the future, most probably. Of course, we speak about the future and we speak about the trends, and I will show you only puzzles about this future, and I'm not sure that everything will be okay and everything will be ready in that future that I say. So these are scenarios rather than 100% sure reality in the future. Okay, so what will be the future, the driving like in the future? It will be a hobby. Like you remember, for example, that in different epochs of the human history, we had different activities like which are right now hobbies. I mean, running, for example, gathering, hunting, tinkering, and so on. And driving will be one of those. So we will be in the new age of machines or artificial intelligence and so on. And so the recent activities which are more common and professional-like will be hobbies, like driving. So we will drive in amusement parks. You can pick a car. There will be a race. You can make a course or more of them, and then you can go home with an autonomous car. It will be impact of the life of the truck drivers and the official drivers, professional drivers. For example, they will lose their jobs. In the States, there are approximately 3 million truck drivers, and 2/3 of them will lose their job within 5 to 10 years. But at the same time, we can say that, for example, in Hungary, there is a shortage of truck drivers, even most probably, this is the long-distance driving. You don't want to spend your time without your family away for 6 weeks or 4 weeks. I have a family member living that life in the past 30 years. So it's very hard job. So it's at one point they will lose their job, but at the other point that it's sometimes for some how it can be also good. I have two scenarios about this future, not only for helping to the students, but of course they have received some materials in advance and they can prepare for themselves for this debate, but for you as well. The future scenario of the cars, in the first case, that we will own a car, how we will own the cars in the future. And I think it will be some kind of luxury good. So owning a car won't be so common as right now. So rather not the majority, but the minority of people will own car, because it will be expensive, and there will be better ways to traffic from one point to another point. But at the same time, if you own a car in that future, it will mean that you don't need to drive that car, but you can use that car as some kind of private space, like a mobile living room, where you can sit or take a nap or play or have a chat or have a business meeting or anything else activity which is not so common right now in the cars. So it will be some kind of personal space. In the other scenario, and I think they will be coexist, so we have two trends which will be together at the same time in the same place. It will be, I think it will be more common that car will be a common space. It won't be your own car, but it will be a car which can take you from point A to point B, and depends on your needs. You can use a pool of cars. Smaller cars when you need to travel alone, bigger cars when it's summertime and holiday, and of course this kind of services, and it will be a service and not owning a car, it will have impact on your life, and you can have a plan for that. I mean, just paying a monthly fee to use these cars. So it will be completely different than right now, with different business models. We can ask the question that who drives this future, this kind of innovation of cars? Of course, there are traditional car manufacturers and main players, and they are interested in that kind of future, which based on their activities and their industrial possibilities. And if you take into account that the biggest companies are oil companies and auto industry companies, so take a look, for example, the biggest Hungarian companies, I mean, MOL, this is the gas or oil company, or Audi, for example, which is also a car manufacturer. So they are interested to build their own future about that. And at the same time, we have new players or new innovators, for example, like Tesla, Uber, or Lyft. They want to completely change this whole area. And I think it will be a big fight between these two scenarios. Of course, it will change a lot of things, not only directly the automotive industry, but everything around it. For example, from fuel stations, which is most common that if you have a car, you go to a fuel station at least 1 or 2 times a month and visit that. And if you don't have, or if you have a service or a pool of cars, which are electric cars, you don't need to charge them by yourself, so you won't visit these fuel stations anymore, which is bad news for an oil company. So they want to transform themselves to another kind of company. But of course, it will change the insurance policy as well, because if you don't own the car, anyway, you need to somehow pay for the insurance. But how will you pay for that kind of service? Based right now on the age of the car and your driving license and your activities in the past and so on, it will completely change as well. What is very important, this is some kind of negative point as well, that cars are underused right now. They use only 4 times of their lifetime, which means that it's some kind of just spending money for which you don't really use at all. It will be increased, but if it will be increased, it will have environmental effect. For example, traffic jams. We have traffic jams in the morning and we have traffic jams usually at the evening, but we can have traffic jams all the time, which is not so good, because if we use cars only 4% in their lifetime, and we have a lot of cars, and the usage time will increase, then most probably it can have impact on the roads and so on. But I'm a sociologist, so I think it will be a very important effect on the society and, for example, in the city structure. The motorization in the 20th century, in the beginning of the 20th century, it's completely changed the structure of the American city, because people could afford to move in the suburbs and left the city centers, and living place and working place divided, which means that the city has transformed and slums emerged and so on. So it can have wider social impacts at the same time. So that was me. Thank you for listening my presentation, and I will give your floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. I should say that I am the perfect judge for this, since I have never learnt to drive. So I'm going to go straight into the debate. I will just repeat again the motion before the House. This House believes that autonomously driven cars are a good thing for society. May I begin by asking Mr. Ambrose Mark to lead for the resolution. Thank you.
I have a mic. So thank you, John. Thank you for the introduction, and also greetings, everyone. This House believes that autonomously driven cars are a good thing for society, and we have many reasons for that. First of all, I will mention the topic safety, which is probably the most important one. Then I will go into time and energy, control and choices, urban planning and development, all of which is heavily affected by the new revolution of the car industry. So first of all, safety. Let's imagine for a second that there are 3,287 crashes a day that result in death, in human death. That is more than 2 in a single minute. Now let's imagine that 10% of these who have died are children below 15 years old, and over 50% who are below 40 years old. Moreover, 50 million people get injured a day. 50 million get heavily injured by car accidents. That is 1 in every 2 seconds. And these are only 7% of all car accidents, which result in a total 715 million accidents a day worldwide. 750 million accidents, which is 8,268 every second. This can be reduced to 496 by driving autonomous cars. 400. 94% of all accidents are caused by human error, like speeding, drunk driving, smoke and drive, and etc. I will cover those later on. And another thing that has to be mentioned, that 60% of population lives in urban settlements. And according to the UN, this is going to increase to 70% in the next 10 years. So the density of the population is increasing, and so are the number of cars in a certain area, in a two-dimensional traffic system. Considering safety, the reaction time of people can also be considered. Imagine that 0.7 seconds, doesn't sound too much, is the reaction time of one of the best drivers. 3 seconds is about average. 3 seconds until someone realizes that an action has to be taken. Under these 30 seconds, in an average urban environment, 14 meters is driven by the car. 14 meters until no action has been taken, and after that, 50 meters is the brake lane. So let's imagine that someone is driving, and at the end of the room, a little children steps on the road because, why not? Doesn't know the rules. Anything can happen to a little kid, you know. And the car, that in this moment right here, cannot literally stop because of physical impossibilities, because of the human reaction time. This can be eliminated by driving autonomous cars. Moreover, autonomous cars cannot disobey the law and order. There won't be any speeding, there won't be any riding red lights, there won't be any accidents on purpose. Autonomous cars are programmed in a certain way to obey the law, which humans don't, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. 31% of accidents happen because of speeding, human decision to drive faster than allowed. Moreover, 21% happen because of phone usage, cell phone usage, watching YouTube videos, making phone calls, testing on Messenger, anyhow. And this was increased to 35%, and is estimated to increase more. This is more than half of the accidents because of humans disobeying the law and order. And this can also result in a spillover effect of better spent police working hours and less crime in other sectors. So $121 million per year is spent on road-related issues by the means of police salaries. which is a lot of money if you consider it, and you consider also the time that police officers spend because of only drunk driving. It is more than 20% of an average police officer's time. That's more than 1 hour.
I'm now turned to the argument of the case against the resolution, beginning with the opposer, Mr. Hussein Bano.
Thank you. I would like just to point something. I'm not representing any institute. I'm just a student. So my colleague here on the pro side, he said driving the autonomous car. First of all, you are not driving an autonomous car. Second of all, you also said eliminating traffic lights. You cannot eliminate traffic lights only by making new roads. Basically what's the problem of the autonomous car is safety. We said, and you said it's we have less problems with car accidents, but still there is a lot of scenarios that cannot be done by the computer to understand. Like, let's say it relies on internet, it relies on GPS. If one of these things got missing, the car goes missing also. So something else, it's how it can help the economy. If there is less car, we can sell less car than we would sell in regular cars. Also, like if something critical is happening to a self-driving car and the person who's sitting there, he doesn't know how to deal with it. Is it a possibility to have to get out safe from it? And also privacy. The company that it's selling the car for you, it will know where are you going and for what time and for which direction you are taking. So I don't have a lot of things to say also. Thank you.
Very much indeed. And now I turn to the seconder for the resolution. The second of the resolution is Mr. Nawaz. Thank you.
Thank you. I may say that artificial intelligence is going to transform our life as the electricity did in the past year. And to answer my colleague, that we didn't reach the full automation level yet. A company has recorded 1 billion mile records, and we have only 3 accidents there. In the meantime, for every 100 miles we have a car accident, and in every 23 seconds passes, someone loses his life because of a car accident. The main thing of the whole automation thing is about safety. Our main goal is about safety, to reduce the numbers of people losing their lives. And in the 5th level, I think there will be a point where the vehicle will ask about a human interaction when it's needed. It's going to take decisions, but it will ask the humans if it feels it's in danger. And thank you.
And András Volum to conclude the debate with the final contribution for the opposition.
So our purpose here is to determine whether, on balance, this House believes that autonomously driven cars are a good thing for society. I'm not going to deny that there are benefits to autonomous cars. There are benefits, but also there are some serious disadvantages. When I was in high school, I had a classmate, and her father was a taxi driver. And he had 2 lovely daughters, and I also know that he could barely make 2 ends meet. Now consider, with the introduction of autonomous cars, this father of 2 lovely daughters will lose his job quite quickly. And not only taxi drivers are in the picture here. As we had it mentioned in this presentation, there are over 3.5 million truck drivers alone in the United States. Imagine if these people lose their jobs in 5 to 10 years. How many more families will there be who will be struggling to make both ends meet? So thank you very much for your flashy numbers on safety and reducing the number of accidents, but where are the numbers about the welfare of these families who are losing their jobs? Also, it was mentioned in this presentation that we have some issues when it comes to traffic jams in cities. Now, I was talking about a year ago with the former head of the Budapest Transport Center, and he very promptly pointed it out to me that if we opt for autonomous cars instead of investing in public transportation, the only thing that we'll end up with will be actually loads of traffic jams, increased traffic, because all those cars that now park by the side of the road, and mind me, I don't like that side, but all those cars, they will be on the roads going from point A to B. Actually, you pointed out that population density is growing. Now, I believe that autonomous cars are hardly an answer to that, because that means that it will just simply increase the traffic in the city. Instead, you should invest in public transportation, and then hopefully you will actually be able to reduce traffic in the city, which also actually leads to less accidents, less problems with traffic, less environmental pollution, better quality of life. And security, I would like to just highlight that again. Of course, the technology creates us this opportunity to better control how cars are going from point A to B, and yes, potentially we can reduce the number of accidents there. But at the same time, we also make ourselves exposed. One of the great things about democracy too is actually the free will of the individual, and that we decide to pull this free will with the government, but we also need to exercise oversight, and we do exercise oversight. I believe that that's why we are here in this room too, talking about the free market and why it's a good idea to take individual responsibility. If we give away all our control to systems that we do not necessarily know how they work, we also do not know how to hold these systems accountable. Aren't we not exposing ourselves to something here? I'm not saying that all those developers, they have bad intentions, definitely not. But we've seen in history that even the best intentioned initiatives can lead to disastrous outcomes. And when it comes to security, actually, I just want to mention the problem of hacking into these cars. Here in Hungary now we have a program called the Digital Welfare Program, and there are children educated about the threats of the digital age. And in the presentations in the schools, these young people are shown how easy it is for a professional hacker to break into their computers that they think are absolutely protected. In a matter of 10 minutes, people are in. Well, of course, companies will do everything to protect the autonomous vehicles, but will we always be safe? The answer is no. And yes, on the one hand, we could improve safety, and it all looks amazing in theory, but will it also look good in practice? Well, that I leave up to you. Make yourself the decision.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah. Very for good performances. Now, we're coming on to the judges, but should we have a vote on the proposition before the judges speak? I think we should, because they're separate questions, of course, the virtue of the motion and the judges. So let's see. For those in favour of the proposition that this House believes that automatically driven cars are a good thing for society, please raise your hands. Oh, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's it's a clear victory for the opposition, but now we turn to the much more important question of who wins the prize. So perhaps I can now turn to Esther for... Esther holds an MA in political science. She is an expert in French language and literature, and as we discovered when she spoke here, an expert also in French politics. She's at the Doctoral School of Political Science, and her doctoral thesis, which I think has just been completed, is on perceptions of gaullism and the way that is changing over time. So thank you very much for coming, Esther, and nice to see you. Dr. Mihalik is an independent researcher, a senior lecturer and expert in human HR. I take it that's human relations, and communication. She's an executive coach. She has 25 years of professional and academic experience and is one of the very few Hungarian coaching experts who have a strong academic background in line with strong and effective business practice. In her interdisciplinary PhD studies, she brought into focus how leaders communicate themselves. And you will see the rest of her biography in the notes you have. I want to thank both Dr. Mihalik and Esther Soas for coming and giving their time to us, and now I turn over the microphone to them.
So thank you very much, John, for the invitation. We are very happy to be here, and we are thrilled by these presentations. Thank you very much for your contributions. They were very interesting, you were well prepared, and we had a very difficult time deciding. We tried to, give you points, we tried to take notes, and our very hard time deciding resulted in a how it's called, Solomonic decision? Split decision, and I leave it to Judith to present our final decision in detail.
Thank you very much for invitation as well. And I would express my feeling. I really appreciate your courage to be here and to participate in this debate, because as most of people here know, that in Hungary there is no that much experience and tradition of public debates. So you are really pioneers. So be proud to yourself, and I really congratulate. In details, I would say that Mark prepared himself pretty well for this debate. So I really appreciated that you collected a lot of data and a lot of arguments. But for the next time, I would suggest you to use the data and the arguments more bravely, more sophisticated, and please feel free to use them, and always try to add some very personal details to the data. So try to put all the data into a context that you have something very personal experience, and try to catch your audience through the very personal emotions, feelings, fears, demands. So try to understand and try to feel. Even you can make a kind of improvisation. For instance, you are preparing for young people to talk, and you just find out at the place. At your speech place that there are older people or different age or race or whatever. So you have to be flexible, and it means that would be much more arguing, much more concerning your speech if you could put into a very personal context. About the two other debaters, I would say the same thing. You were arguing very, very strongly with a lot of data, but never forget, if you have no picture, any kind of picture presentation, which could mean regular presentation or just a poster presentation, which is also obvious recently. To talk about data and facts, it's really hard. It's really hard because we have no capacity to approach that amount of data and so on. So finally, I would like to congratulate to the last presenter. Sorry, I couldn't hear your name.
I'm András Valam.
András, okay.
Originally, I was on
Sorry,
the pro side,
sorry, because originally you are not on the list. So I would like to really congratulate, because as we all experienced, his speech was really, really not only thoughtful, but it was really catchy and touchy. Because what he has done, he started with a story. He is a good storyteller. I guess he learned all the books about how to deliver a public speech, all the American books, or at least one, because the first lesson is you have to tell a personal story. He did so. Actually, he mentioned two stories. He started with a high school story, and then we also mentioned a conversation a year ago with an expert. I can't remember the details. But he really, he was really enthusiastic. He was really full of courage, and he not only discussed with the data, with the facts about security and the number of accidents and so on. He brought his topic into a very wide context, much more wider context, into a social context about the public awareness, the quality of life, which is not really it's not related too closely to the topic, but it was a much wider context, and he found all of us to find our very personal way to this topic. So I really would like to express my congratulations to András, and obviously to the others as well, because you are really well prepared. So the final judge would be announced by Esther.
Okay, so our working method was the following. We decided to give you points, and we found when we did the quick calculation that both teams are very close to each other in our notes, and we came up with a split decision. So there is no clear winner in the averages of our notes and the averages of our evaluations. So we'd like to congratulate both teams on an equally stellar performance. And this is the decision. Two winners.
Now there is now, and there is a.
Yeah, just like.
There's now about to be a present. Yes, and there's now a presentation to the judges, I think. Oh, I think you should present it. Oh, yeah.
And congratulations again to both teams.